Thanks for joining us. I'm Meg Oliver. Any moment now, North Carolina's Governor Pat McCrory is expected to discuss a lawsuit against the Justice Department. The suit defends the state's controversial bathroom law, which bans people from using public bathrooms that do not correspond with their biological sex. This is in response to a letter the Justice Department sent last week warning Governor McCrory that the law is in violation of the Civil Rights Act and giving him until Monday to, quote, remedy the situation. We are taking another live look there at Raleigh, North Carolina. As soon as the governor comes up to the microphone, we're going to be taking that press conference live. But right now, following all of this is our justice reporter, Paula Reid in Washington. She's been following this for quite some time. Paula, let's just start with, how did we get here? We have a state governor suing the attorney general.
Meg, this legal controversy is escalating quickly. After the governor's press conference this afternoon, the Attorney General of the United States is going to have her own press conference to announce what she describes as a law enforcement action against the state of North Carolina. Now, last week, the Department of Justice sent a letter to the state saying that its controversial bathroom bill, which says that you have to use a bathroom based on the gender on your birth certificate, not your so-called gender identity, they said that that law is unconstitutional and violates federal civil rights. And if you are in violation of federal civil rights, Meg, you can lose your federal funding. So the Department of Justice gave the state just 3 business days to remedy the situation and say that they wouldn't implement their own law. And today, the governor responded by suing the Department of Justice.
Paul, I want to ask you a couple more questions, but we also have Omar Villafranca. He's on the phone with us. He is inside the State House there in Raleigh, North Carolina. Omar, this law has already has had a big financial impact on the state, right?
It absolutely has. There's some businesses that said that they are not going to expand here in North Carolina, and there's other businesses who have threatened to pull out. Entertainment, too. There have been several big acts, including Bruce Springsteen, who canceled the concert in North Carolina because of the bill. And there's even talks that the NBA All-Star Game, which will be here next year, could be pulled from the Charlotte area, from North Carolina, if this bill remains a law. So, of course, we're going to wait and see what the governor has to say. From what we understand, it's not really going to be a press conference. He's going to come out here, give a statement, and then walk away. Now, CBS News has requested to sit down one-on-one with him. We will see if we will get that opportunity, because there's a lot of questions. And there's a lot of other states, as I'm sure Paula can attest to, that are watching this case.
That's right. Paula, the federal government says the state is violating the civil rights. How is HB 2 illegal?
The argument that the Department of Justice is making is that gender identity, not necessarily the gender that is on your birth certificate, but if it's different, your gender identity, you can select a bathroom based on whatever you believe your gender identity is. And they say if you don't allow people to make that choice, you're violating their federal civil rights. But Meg, the law on this is actually not very clear, and there have been several cases across the country sort of working their way slowly towards the Supreme Court. This idea of transgender rights and what protections these individuals are afforded, this is something that will inevitably wind up before the Supreme Court. It's really the next frontier in civil rights law.
So just to give our viewers an update here, we are looking at a live picture in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're awaiting North Carolina's Governor McCrory to approach the microphones to address this new development that came out today, that he is suing the Department of Justice over the HB 2 law. And we are going to listen in just a moment. Paula, what options did the governor have here besides taking legal action?
Meg, he was really in a difficult situation. He can't unilaterally decide to reject a law that the state legislature had passed. But if he didn't comply with the Department of Justice, he puts the state's federal funding at risk, potentially billions of dollars. As Omar noted, the state has already taken a hit through different business ventures because of this law. He asked the Department of Justice for an extension. They gave him just 3 business days, 5 days total, to respond to their letter last week. That's not a lot of time. So really, this seems like his only option was to sue them and hopefully allow the federal courts to really come out with a clear definition of the rights that the state must extend to transgender individuals. I mean, he really was in a lose-lose situation here.
As you mentioned, Omar Villafranca, he is there in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's on the phone with us. Omar, I'm curious, have you seen any protesters outside the State House? What has the response been like there?
We have not seen any protesters outside the State House or outside the governor's mansion today. There have been some in the past. But we do understand that there's going to be some opponents of HB2 that are going to have a press conference at 4 o'clock. That's going to be after the Department of Justice's press conference, of course, which is at 3 o'clock Eastern. And the series of press conferences today at 5 o'clock, there's a group that is backing HB2 that's also going to be talking. So we're basically waiting to find out what the governor's plan of business is as this goes forward. And from what looks like right now, just checking to see the governor is not coming out. It should be out shortly. But the governor is saying he wants to make sure that the federal funding does keep flowing to North Carolina while this is in the courts. And we just got the 1-minute warning, Meg.
Okay, we got the 1-minute warning. So about 1:05 Eastern Standard Time, we should be hearing from North Carolina Governor McCrory about this. In the meantime, Paula, tell us, what will the U.S. government do in response at this point?
The government will have to do two things. First of all, they're going to need to respond to the governor's lawsuit. They're probably going to reject his arguments that this is a privacy-based law and continue to push the idea that transgender individuals should be able to select bathrooms based on their gender identity and not necessarily be limited to the gender on their birth certificate. But this afternoon, when the Attorney General holds her press conference to announce what she describes as a law enforcement action, it is highly likely that she and the federal government will now go after the federal funds in the state of North Carolina, arguing that the state isn't in compliance with federal civil rights law. And if you're not in compliance with federal civil rights law, that puts your federal funds at risk.
And as we know, this law also is in other states as well. Is the Attorney General sending a message to other states with similar legislation, Paula?
It seems that way, Meg. She is a North Carolina native. This puts her at odds with her own state. But it seems that this administration's Department of Justice wants to protect the civil rights of transgender individuals and perhaps push this all the way to the Supreme Court to get a final ruling on the protections that these people are afforded under federal civil rights law.